Hello and welcome back to another video, and today we are here for the start of our SBK 22 career mode. Now I'm looking forward to this quite a bit because I know it's going to be very similar to the MotoGP career mode. We've seen that already, and pretty much all the features described were pretty much identical to the MotoGP career mode. But even still, I'm looking forward to getting into Superbike because it's just been so long since I've been able to do a Superbike career mode. And also I'm just excited to get into some racing with the AI as well, because I don't know what the AI are going to be like in this game, and to be honest, over the course of a full season, I think it's going to be more difficult because you've actually got 3 AI that are consistently going to be at the front, whereas in MotoGP it can be a bit up and down at times, but you can guarantee it's going to be these 3 guys you're going to be battling in the championship with, and you can guarantee that they're going to be on the podium every race, so it's going to make it a bit tougher. So I'll actually go into the career mode then, and again we get this welcome screen as we do with every single game, so I'm just going to skip over this welcome screen. Of course, first thing we've got to do is sign a personal manager. So again, they do seem to be the exact same people from the MotoGP games, all the stats seem to be basically the same as well. So of course the career mode is pretty much just the same as the MotoGP career mode, so I'll have a look who's actually the best, and then I'll sign them. So I think I'm going to go with George Morgan here because he seems to have a pretty good set of stats. I mean, they're all pretty similar. They're all very, very much the same. There's only like a couple either way. They just gain 5 points on one, lose 5 points on the other usually. But he seems to get us better bonuses, so we'll go for that because bonuses is where you really get the money by actually getting the results, because you get paid that constantly, whereas obviously you only get paid once for the actual base salary. So we'll sign on George Morgan so we can get a little bit more money if we perform well. Now, usually when it comes to career modes, I do prefer to go with the factory teams. I mean, back in the day, like I think back on like MotoGP 20, I think I did go with a customizable team, but after that, I've pretty much always been with factory teams. Now, as it is World Superbikes, there are a lot more privateers, and the privateer is a lot more normal. You know, you get a lot more wild cards, things like that. So I think I'm actually going to go with a custom team this time, because that just seems a bit more plausible in World Superbikes, and it just gives it a little bit of a different twist to MotoGP. So we're going to go with a customizable livery here. So we've actually got 2 options. So actually it's a little bit less than I expected. I thought, to be honest, I would have probably more options, but we've got BMW Tissot and Honda Nolan. So we're either going to be on a BMW or a Honda. So either way, a couple of bikes are a little bit lower down on the pecking order, but I'll quickly look over these contracts and see who's the best, because at the minute the team performance is identical. So I think the BMW team, they do seem better because they've got a bigger signing on bonus. They just basically have a bigger bonus now. It's a bigger clause to break the contract, but the objectives are the same for the pair of them, and you get a lot more money on the BMW, so I think we're going to be going with the Tissot BMW here. So then this is the livery I've ended up going with. I've not really changed it much from the default, to be honest. I've just changed the main colour from orange to a bit more of a red, because it was kind of a reddy orange. I've made it a bit of a darker red, and then I've just picked the same colours on the suit to sort of try and match it, but it's only really as close as I can get. The colours on the suit do look a bit bizarre, to be honest. So we'll go with this then, and let's head into the season. So here we are then in the main career hub now, and of course we've just seen the team get unveiled in the same manner really as they've had in the MotoGP games for many years. That's a little showroom scene, although with different music for once, so I mean it's a little bit refreshing to see that at least. Now, since it is so similar to the MotoGP game, we do know the drill here, so we've got a notification on technical staff. It is going to be a new chief engineer applying. Ike Carrizo. I've seen that name many a time in the MotoGP game, and to be honest, I guess for now we're just going to leave it, because I've not even ridden the bike yet, so I'm not going to exactly go to hire a new chief engineer right off the bat. I probably should have a little look at the headquarters down here and have a look if there's anything we can do. I don't think we've really got any research data. No, we've not got any by the looks of it so far. We've got them on the production though, so that's absolutely fine. We actually do have a few, so we've got 475 on the engine, 475 on the frame, but that's not going to be enough for now. So I think the next thing to do really is just to advance forward. I'm going to have a look at the calendar, although we do actually have preseason testing, so that's worth noting. I wasn't actually expecting that to be in the game, to be honest, so that is definitely worth noting. So I will get to ride the bike a little bit in preseason, so we'll just keep advancing forward really till we can actually upgrade anything or we get any interesting notifications. And on Q at week 3, we do have both of those. So another chief engineer trying to apply. Again, just going to leave it for now. And looking at the headquarters, we can put an upgrade on the engine, which will give us more power output. So I'll stick all the engine stuff on that. And that's going to take 3 weeks, so actually not too long. So that'll probably be done before the preseason test. And then when on the frame, we can do the same thing by sticking all the frame people on that upgrade. And that's also going to take 3 weeks. So they'll come in at the same time. In terms of electronics, we didn't actually have anybody on the production of that. We do still have a person on the engine and a person on the frame. So I've moved both of them over, so now I'll actually get some on the electronics whilst we're upgrading this engine and frame. So we'll just keep advancing forward now till we get to the pre-season, because I imagine nothing else is really going to happen until then. So here we are in week 6, and literally just on cue, the upgrades have finished. So now we've got the upgrades, we can stick everybody back on the research data. And we can head to Portimao for the pre-season test. Well, I assume it's Portimao. I know it's in Portugal. It could be Estoril, I suppose. But I believe it is Portimao where they have their pre-season test. Although, I think they really have one at Jerez, don't they? But they probably also have one at Portimao. I'm not really 100% sure. But either way, we'll head into that one now. And it's time for me to learn the bike. So then, at the end of this test session, you can see I did plenty of laps. And to be honest, that was more just to learn the bike. But also because I was ridiculously far off the AI. Now, I think it is a simulated times problem more than it is a pace problem, but I'm basically 0.7 off the back of the entire field, and that was with my perfect lap at the end, the 41 dead, and that's pretty much the best lap I did in the whole session. The only time I went quicker was actually the previous lap, sector 4, was slightly quicker, but you can see pretty much my new record. Yeah, so pretty much the ideal time I did there. So not too bad for me, really, a 41.0. But the AI are ridiculous. I mean, they're quicker than like MotoGP bikes when you've done the simulated time. So it is a little bit ridiculous. I'm hoping that it's not going to be quite so strong in Aragon, but we'll have to see. So we'll head back to the career hub now and then get ready for Aragon. But if this is what we've got in store, we are going to be struggling this season. Now I actually have to pick the pack, and surprisingly enough, my best lap was on pack 2. So we'll click on that, we'll choose pack 2, and go back to the career hub. So here we are then. If we have a look at the calendar, we've still got a few weeks till Aragon, so we'll advance forward a few weeks to get to that point. And that takes us up to week 10 then, and you can actually see we've got a fair few notifications here. So we've got a notification on the technical staff telling us another chief engineer's turned up. So all these chief engineers really want to work for this random BMW team, don't they? And then in the headquarters as well, we can actually put upgrades on all 3 different departments now. So if we look at the engine, we've now got 2,000, so we'll put that engine upgrade on and we'll stick everybody from the engine department on that. And that's now going to take 5 weeks. Now the thing that's worth noting is here that obviously we have 3 races in a weekend, so it is spread out a lot more. So actually if something takes 5 weeks, that's probably only like a weekend or 2, whereas in the MotoGP game that would be quite a while. If we stick everybody on here, then actually these are the wrong people, those are the engine guys. If we stick the correct people on here, that's going to take still 5 weeks for the frame. And then also the electronics, we only have 2 guys that are free. So I think I'm going to go for engine braking just because the brakes are just not really up to par. Traction control, I can kind of manage. Anti-wheelie, to be honest, I hadn't had a problem with wheelies so far. So anti-wheelie, I'll leave that. But engine braking, I'll do that. So I'll stick on the 2 guys that have got 75 on the electronics. That'll take 7 weeks. So in reality, all the upgrades coming in a similar time, a couple of weeks after for the electronics. But of course, we've now got Aragon, a track where, to be honest, I have struggled against AI in the past, and then based on what we've seen in the testing, I'm a little bit nervous. Obviously, we are on 120% AI here. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but we could end up finishing last, to be honest. So then, practice was pretty much as I expected. I was quite far off the pace, but sadly, I wasn't able to get any of the objectives except top speed, because the lap times were ridiculous. I mean, look at these AI here. Fastest lap for Scott Redding is a 47.2. All of my objectives needed me to do sort of low 46. So even their times themselves are kind of ridiculous, but on top of that, they were trying to get me to go like a second quicker than them, so that was just never going to happen. But we did manage to beat Philip Ertl, so that is something worth noting. We're in the mix there with some of these guys further back, which we probably should be, really. This should be about where we are, I suppose, considering the bike are actually on. But we're heading to qualifying now. Of course, no Q1, Q2, it is just one qualifying session, so practice does matter less in terms of the lap times, so we'll head to it now. So if we look at the tyres, I believe there should be an SCQ, if I'm not mistaken. So we've got SC1s on the softs, we've got a development test, so it's the same compound as an SC1, but with a modified structure. The SC1 is what's recommended, so I guess I'll go with that. On the rear, I can say it, we can have an SCQ on the rear, that makes sense. So it's actually recommending me a soft, so an SC0, but since it is qualifying, I'm going to try an SCQ. because I think a bit more rear grip actually probably would help, to be honest, help the bike. I'd like to actually probably put a medium on the front almost, so I'm going to have a look to see how it actually works out, but obviously I don't want to use more mediums in case I want to go with that for the race, so we'll head to the track, but the front tire does get an absolute beating around here just because of some of the long trail braking corners, but to be honest, I'm not really expecting anything other than a last place. The AI do seem very fast. We'll have to see how this first weekend pans out. If I am like miles off the pace in all the sessions, then I probably will have to turn the difficulty down. Obviously currently it is 120%, but the AI do seem ridiculously fast. But we'll see. I don't know why sort of Lavity is always top of all the sessions. The AI performance seems kind of off, which is really weird, because it's not that hard to get Superbike AI right when there's only 3 that ever win the races anyway. Oh, okay, I was absolutely rammed off by Mikado. I was just getting ready for my lap time, and Mikado's absolutely rammed me, so I'm going to bite the screen in this lap. I've got a bit of a marker now, I guess. Guess there's anything good thing that came from it, but that was so over the top from Mikado. I'll come up towards the line, and you can see Mikado's absolutely gapped me. Gerloff's done a 46.6, I've just done a 48.4, which is not too bad, because it's miles off the likes of Nazani. So that's just going to be back of the grid for sure, even with an FCQ. I mean, maybe it wasn't the best lap in the world, but honestly, I didn't think it was too bad. AI just seemed to have such an advantage, and this bike just doesn't seem to be that great. I mean, I suppose it's an almost stock BMW. Yeah, being 2 seconds off the pole time, that's not going to quite cut it, sadly, but I'm pretty sure that is the quickest lap I've done all weekend. In fact, I know it is, because I'm pretty sure 48.0 was the top time in free practice, so I'm not too far off, although that was with a really soft tyre that I've just done that time on. But at least I'm in the ballpark of what the AI actually could do in practice, but seems like in qualifying they've stepped it up yet another level, and I don't think I'll be able to compete with that whatsoever. It does give me some sort of hope for the race though, that well, actually the race is that maybe I can keep it with them. So towards the line, I've improved by a few tenths of a second, but unfortunately so had Koenig, so I'm still 7 tenths behind him, but we're just both a bit quicker now. I'm 2.3 off of pole position. Top Rack's now at the 45s, so the AI, they are really motoring. So then at the end of qualifying, you can see Johnny Ray actually got pole position, which he must have done on his last lap because he was about 15th before that. I actually ran out of fuel at the end of the session, so there could potentially be some simulations in here. But I know they did get a 46, in fact a 45 legitimately, so I think the top rack time is legit, so I guess Johnny's just done the same time, but it's quite interesting there. You think actually Ray would be second because he set the time after top rack, but I guess not in the game. But either way, top rack second, then Lecuona actually third place, fourth for Gerloff, so fifth for Alvaro Bautista. So Bautista will have some work to do in some of the races to catch up to his 2 opponents there. So we'll head down to the grid for race 1 then. Hopefully we might be a bit stronger in the race. I have heard that there might be a bug where the positions aren't correct at the end of the race, so we'll have to see if that happens to me. If it does, I'll try some way to fix it so it at least appears correct in the championship standings afterwards, but if I can't, then there's not much I can do. But we'll head down to the grid now then, and let's hope for a better race, eh? So then, between qualifying and the race, I have made some adjustments. I've actually turned the difficulty down to 100% because I did I started the race and it was exactly the same. I was absolutely nowhere near them. So there's not much point just circulating around at the back for no reason. I may as well just turn the difficulty down because they seem really, really difficult. And it also does seem that this bug will happen regardless. So the bug I was talking about earlier, with the positions being wrong, basically the positions just won't update when you overtake people. It'll just still say, it'll say I'm 25th, even if I actually got up into the lead of the race, it'll say I'm in P25 on the timing screen on the left hand side. But hopefully we'll be able to have a good race now because I've turned the AI difficulty down a bit, but not to the point where I'll charge through and take the lead or anything like that. We should be able to just finish around where we actually should be, because it does seem like the AI are either very strong or I'm very weak. One or the other, or probably a combination of the two. But you guys will have to let me know what you think as well, because obviously it's still day 1, so I've not really heard how other people are faring against the AI, but so far they do seem a bit too fast for me in all sessions. I've tried it a couple of tracks now, obviously with Portimao in the test and the actual whole weekend here, so they do seem a bit quicker than me. So we'll get this race started then, our first World Superbike race of our whole career. So here we are then, lights are on, waiting for the lights to go out here at Aragon. Lights out and away we go for our first World Superbike race. As we go down towards turn 1 then, we're at the inside of Oliver Koenig. Is he going to leave us a space? Well, he's managed to keep the position, so unfortunately no positions gained through the first corner. Can we get any up the hill? We're right behind him. They're going a bit slow here. I think that's because Haslam had gone off the track and they were sort of trying to react to that. But unfortunately, at the moment, we've not been able to pass Koenig. Got the inside of Koenig we go. So we've pulled the pass on him. And we've run a bit wide there. Is he going to come back underneath us? No, he's not. So we've actually got the position on Oliver Koenig there. So next up is Christoph Ponson. Then we've got Kotan Azani in front of him. Then Leon Haslam in front of him. Koenig hitting us at the back a little bit there. Is he going to go around the outside? I think he is. Fair play to him, but he backed out the throttle a little bit there. I think it was just, again, to avoid the collision like I tend to do. He's back at the inside through the corkscrew. So we're having a good battle here with Oliver. Unfortunately, we've now dropped behind him. I also had to change the race distance very slightly as well before this one, because it was set to 9 laps before, which was way too long. To be honest, I find 7 laps of Aragon to be probably too long also, but I don't want the sprint race to be too short, basically. Now, I know I could probably just alter the length, but I may as well actually make it a sprint race by making it significantly shorter. So I think that'll probably be about 5 laps, will it? Ah, and I've lost the rear. And we're losing the rear of the group as well. Koenig pulling away. I feel like we've still not got the difficulty low enough, to be honest. I think this is going to be 7 laps on my own, unless I can do something about it. I'm trying to keep an eye on the fuel gauge as well, use a bit of power 3. We've gained on them on the straight using that power 3. So that might be my weapon, just to try and use that. Just to stay on the back of this group, because otherwise I'm going to be in no man's land, and to be honest, I'll be very bored. So Johnny Ray fastest lap, 151.1 from a standing start. Pretty decent as we go down towards turn 1 here then. Got on the inside. Well, I was trying to go on the inside of Koenig, but they just did a long train, so I can't really pass one without clattering into the side of another. So that's something definitely worth noting. So here we are then, about to start the 3rd lap of the race. So you can see the groups just sort of forming. There's loads of packs here. We've got the inside of Koenig into turn 1, a bit of contact with him because he didn't want to relinquish that position. He's going to try and hang it around the outside. He's still not relinquished the position. Can we get the switch back up the inside through turn 2? To be fair, he actually got that one pulled down. I thought he was going to run wide by the tight line he was taking. Yeah, you can see ahead, the same thing's happened with a bit of a group in front, and we're now stuck behind. Well, I'm not stuck, I'm struggling to hang on to the back of these guys, but this group seems to be stuck behind someone further up the front. I think it might be Leon Haslam, but I actually can't tell who it is. Actually, I think it might be one of the Bonovo BMWs. I think it might be Eugene Laverty, potentially. Well, I'll tell you something that has really happened with the positions. It seems to have broken completely, because it says I'm now 18th, Koenig's 20, it says Lecuona's first. So part of the bug that actually happens is that you're actually all ranked at the end based on your fastest lap, like as if it's a qualifying session. So I wonder if that's what's happened here. So far I've got the 18th fastest lap time or something like that. That would make sense. The only thing that's actually even keeping me in this race is the straights. If you see here, look how much we actually gain on them on the straights. They just go so slow with this lower difficulty. But that's the only thing that's actually keeping me in the race. Like, I'm actually falling back from them everywhere else except the straights, which I guess is how they balance the difficulty, but it's no fun, because I don't want to just blast past them on the straight. Like, I could have passed that entire group probably going to that first corner, but I lifted off the throttle because, I mean, I already feel bad about turning the difficulty down, but there's nothing I can really do when I'm at the back. Like, I'm not going to just coast around for 7 laps, 20 seconds off the back of the group or something like that, but at the same time, I do actually want to have a challenge. I don't want to just think, I'll just wait till the straight and blast past them, but at the same time, I don't want to be able to just not pass them. So yeah, we've got the same thing again. Look, I'm gaining on them so much, but I don't want to just absolutely blast past them, because that's no fun at all for me to just do that. I actually want to be able to overtake them legitimately. But at least it does mean that I'm kind of keeping with them better, because before it was only just catching me back up to the back of them, but now it means I'm in a position to pass them. But I kind of have to. I'm going past these two here, so you can see how easily I passed them, and I probably could have passed Nazani as well. We've now passed Koenig. We're now down to 22nd, you can see on the fastest lap classification as well. Now again, I would have been much faster, but I'm slowing down to not pass them. But you know what, this time I might just blast past them and kind of see what happens, because really this race is kind of glitched anyway, so and it doesn't really matter. I know I want to have a battle with them, but this doesn't ultimately mean anything what's happening here. But to be fair, we've actually passed the Zayli legitimately there, so I'll take that. We'll go on the outside of Myas. Myas trying to get the inside of Haslam at the same time. Can we get Myas out of here? Trying to watch my fuel, because I've only got 2 point something laps left. I think that might be in total rather than actually after the race. That might, because there is only 2 laps of the race left, so I actually could be in a bit of trouble here if that's total and not. I can't remember how MotoGP 21 did it, because I'm just trying to think back, basically treating this as MotoGP 21 in all the aspects. So I think I might just stick it in power 2 for now for the rest of the race, because I just want to be sure that I'm not going to run out of fuel. So let's see how much I gain on them here. So there we are. So it's not actually the acceleration zone. It's once you actually get to a decent part of the straight, they sort of let off the brake, let off the throttle, sorry. I run the inside of Haslam and my ass into that last corner, but you bet they'll dive back up the inside because they are super aggressive. Haslam is back up the inside. To be fair, that was actually clean from Haslam. I'm not going to sit there and complain about that. There we are to the line then. We have to go to the left-hand side. We're now 14th on the classification, but we've now passed the entire group. So we've now passed Lavity, and I think it was Van der Mark is also in the group. Lavity's trying to go around the outside. In fact, he's actually pulled it off quite nicely there. But we're actually up into the points now on the fastest lap classification. I'm up to 14th place. So at least it does seem like the pace is kind of there. But again, I don't really want it like this. I want to have a good battle with them. I'd rather them just be a bit slower in the corners than on the straights. But obviously that's not how the difficulty balancing works in these games. They just lift off the straight, which is just so bizarre. But either way then, we are closing up to the back of Eugene Lavity. We can at least try and have a little battle with him. Or Van der Mark, as he's now come straight back past me, or Haslam as he's now hitting me. So we can have a bit of a battle now we're in the pack a bit more. But as soon as we get to the straight, obviously I'll be overtaking them. But perhaps I'll try not to again like I was earlier on in the race, just to make it a bit more fair. I'm not too sure, but again, even on this straight now, we're catching up so much, we're just going around the outside of Van der Mark like he's standing still. But I bet he'll come back up. He's up in the corner, I've almost fallen at the front of me. You can look at my front tyre, it's really, really worn now. If you look at the lap times compared to what I was doing in qualifying and practice, I was in the... Well, actually, I don't know what I did in practice, but in the qualifying I was in the 48s. I've done a few 50s in this race so far. Actually, I've done three 50s so far. We've now overtaken Lavity. See if we can catch up to this pack in front of me. We're about to start the last lap, so probably not. You can see Rinaldi's now moved up to first on the classification. But even without that classification glitch and without changing the difficulty, you can see that they've formed weird clumps. I mean, look how far in front the leaders are if you look on the map. But it's not just like the top three like you would expect in real world superbikes. It's just like little packs like of all the little groups have just broken up. It's not even the top three. So I don't really... Yeah, this whole race is quite bizarre. And we've got another two. Although at least apparently in race 2, it should be legitimate. But it's just this in the Super Pole race apparently it happens in. Apparently race 2 is fine, which makes sense with the working theory I have to as to why this bug occurs. Oh, Lavity just absolutely bashed me out of the way. Oh, I've just absolutely had flashbacks to MotoGP 22 career mode at the exact same corner. Well, I'll tell you what, Eugene, you are going to get it back, that's for sure, into this last corner. Actually, I'm not even going to be able to do it to him. I might want to drag him to the line, maybe. Oh, and who's out the inside? My ass back at the inside. Can we out-drag my ass to the line, though? I don't think we're going to get to the point of the straight where they lift off in time. Actually, we probably are. We've just beaten my ass to the line there. But ultimately, it's all for nothing. So then, according to the standings, you can see Michael Rinaldi apparently has won, but you can see we actually do have the real gaps here. So you can see Johnny Riggs, for example, was 2 seconds in front of him because he's minus 2 seconds behind him. Toprak was minus 1.4, Lecona was minus 2, Vierge was 0.9, Gerloff 0.9. Sire was actually up in the leading group, I guess, then. Although Rinaldi, I think, was actually in the pack in front of me, so Rinaldi actually wasn't doing so well. Actually, no, it wasn't Rinaldi, it must have been Bernardi, because you can see Bernardi was plus 7 seconds behind, but so bizarre. But that's race 1 done then. Let's head on to the Super Pole race, where we're going to see the same thing happen. So here we are then, down the grid for the Super Pole race. Now, of course, I don't know how long this race is going to be, but it is worth noting that we are going to probably go on an Actually, I was going to go on an SCX, but it's telling me to go on an SC0 still. But I tell you what, I'm going to go on the X, because I think it's probably worth it, since it is the Super Pole race after all. 4 laps. It's a 4-lap race I've just seen, so race length 4 laps. So that shows us that it is going to be quite short. So I reckon the SCX is the right choice, so we'll go with this then. Now this is very important because I think the fastest lap then from this is going to determine our starting position for race 2. Obviously I know it's actually the position you get, or if you're outside the top 9. Well, we're probably going to be outside the top 9, so our qualifying position is not going to actually change. We're going to still be in the same position. But for the leaders, it's going to be their fastest lap from this race because the same bug is going to happen again. So it's not actually going to be their finishing position. Well, technically, I guess it is their finishing position as far as the game is concerned, but not actually where they finished on track. But here we are then. The lights are on. Waiting for the lights to go out here for our first Super Pole sprint race. The lights out and away we go. I've not had the best start, but it's okay, because we've probably got slightly softer tyres on than they are. Into turn 1, around the outside of quite a few riders there. That was a pretty good start, actually. And we've got Myas right in front of us. was sticking his hand out to apologise. Just kind of hit Myas out of the way, so sorry, Myas. But again, you can see here, the same thing has happened, so we're still 25th place. I'll tell you what, if we get a bit of a move on, we'll have to pass some of these riders we couldn't pass in the previous one. Past Ponson, past Van der Mark. So it does seem basically like the exact same order as the last race. So past Ponson and Van der Mark, they were behind Lavity. Here comes Ponson, they're back up the inside. Can we get the switch back on Ponson? We know he's going to slow down by at this point on the straight. So past Ponson, are we going to pass Lavity? Yes, we are, and that's up into 19th position. Oh, but Lavity's back through once again. So I tell you what, the AI, they're very fast. They're just so fast. Because obviously I've had to turn the difficulty down, but it's just such a shame that the way they're slowed down is on the straight, because it just makes the overtake so cheap. Whereas if they were just a bit slower, like everywhere, like sort of in the corners and stuff, like to actually, you know, try and balance the difficulty properly, that'd actually be still fine, because we'd be having a normal battle and I wouldn't be gaining loads on the straight, but it just feels wrong, the amount I'm gaining on the straight on them. At least Lavity's fighting back in the corners. I mean, he was pretty aggressive on me in the first race as well, so it's not just a Super Bowl race. Lavity's getting his elbows out. Lavity's willing to get his elbows out at any time. So here we are then. We're going to mirror signal manoeuvre past Lavity. It's just ridiculous. Like, I know I can't really complain, but I think, considering what's going on in the race, I think I have a right to complain about the AI balancing being pretty bad as well. Because let's not beat around the bush. They are probably too fast initially. But there we go then. We got 18th there on the fast lap classification. Can we try and catch up to this group in front? We've got Ertl, we've got Bernardi. It'd be cool to try and get in the battle with these guys. But I'm sure Lavity will be sticking at the inside very shortly. Here comes Lavity, he's looking at the inside, but just not close enough, I'm afraid. And this is the part of the track where we're going to gain a lot on him. So sadly for Eugene, that's probably his last attempt as we're coming towards the final lap of the race. I don't know if we're just going to catch to the back of this group with Ertl. I feel like the AI are losing more time ahead than they would at other tracks just because Aragon were two back-to-back straights. I probably should have picked up the track limits warning for that, by the way, on that green track extension into the last corner. I've now moved up to 12th place. No, okay, now 16th. Moving up to 12th very briefly, I'm sure it did. We're up to 16th, so just outside the points of the fastest lap classification. So if we can do a good last lap, we'll be right up there. Imagine a championship that actually ran like this, though. It'd be so strange. Like, you have a race going on, but actually the points are just awarded to whoever gets the fastest lap. You just have everybody backing off and just trying to find a gap so they can... it basically just would be like qualifying, I guess, but even more chaotic because you're kind of racing around as well as people going around at full speed. Well, I suppose there was in qualifying too. So yeah, I guess it would just be like qualifying. It'd be really weird though, wouldn't it? So there we are then, onto the back straight for the final time. We've got a switch with Luca Bernardi here, so we're probably going to actually pass him down towards the last corner. In fact, we're going to get Ertl, we're going to get Locatelli, we're going to get this whole group basically up the inside of Scott Redding going into that last corner there. But we are definitely going to get re-overtaken through this last corner, I think. Yes, we are. I think literally all of them are going to go back through. Maybe not Bernardi though. At the last corner though, up towards the line. We're going to finish in whatever position this is. But I don't know where we are going to be on the fastest lap classification. But again, what a strange race. Well, we actually got 12th place there. But of course, with it being the Super Pole race, that's not worth any points. It's not worth anything on the grid either. So we are going to still be at the back of the grid. But a little bit more of a moving forward race that time. Because I guess I kind of decided not to just sit behind them. I think for this last race where it's actually for position, I think I will just sit behind them on the straights, or at least only overtake one at a time on the straights rather than overtaking a whole group of them. But I am hoping that with this bug disappearing in the last race, that they'll also behave a bit more correctly, because they're clearly behaving incorrectly too, by forming these weird clumps that are just miles away from each other. I don't really know why they're doing that, it just seems so bizarre. But who actually won this race, if we can figure it out? I think Toprak won this one? Yes, Toprak just beat Ray by the looks of it. And of course the grid has been set for the top 9 here, so you actually got 2 Hondas in the top 4, the 2 MIE Hondas in the top 4, then you've got Lecroyder and Vierge in 7th and 8th place as well, but Bautista, interestingly enough, on pole position, so can he take his first win of the weekend in the first real race? I guess we'll have to see. So then here we are for the second full-length race of the weekend. We've got Bautista on pole position with Toprak in 2nd place. Going to go with the same tyre compound we've basically been going with all weekend, the SC1. The D4 apparently is the same, just with a different compound on it. Same compound with a different structure. My controller's also just disconnected. Well, it's not disconnected, but the game sometimes just will stop taking input from my controller. And I don't know whether that's a problem with the game or with my controller. because I think this does happen in the MotoGP games sometimes as well, so it perhaps my controller, but I'm now using the mouse to select my tyres, and I've now got controller input back, so that's good. So then, once again from 25th on the grid, but this time for a proper race. Hopefully we'll see if everything updates correctly. This is only, again, this is what I've been told, but everything else I've been told so far seems to have been correct, what other people have experienced, so I imagine that this will be too. But here we are then for the last race of the weekend. Lights are on, waiting for the lights to go out. Lights down, away we go for the final time here at Aragon. And my start was not great because I was accidentally in power mode 2 instead of power mode 3. But that does allow me to sort of pick my line a bit more into turn 1. Maya's got sit up in the middle of the pack there. All the positions working. They seem to be so far. Yes, they actually seem to be working in this race. Yes, they are. So that's good. So kind of hit Maya's out the way a little bit there. But up to 23rd place then with Kota and Zaney just in front of us. Can we try and get us first proper points of this race? I think it's going to be difficult from where we are, obviously down in 25th. And it's not like they are exactly slow. They're just a bit slow on the straights with their difficulty being turned down. It doesn't actually make them slower in the corners. I mean, I'm sure if I had more laps, I probably would actually get through them all eventually, because they are losing a lot of time on the straights. But in these shorter races, although, well, I suppose it's not too short, with there being 7 laps, but in these races, it seems to be good enough to kind of make us battle a little bit. I'm not sure if there's going to be a patch for the game. Well, I imagine there will be to try to fix that issue from the first couple of races. I don't know what you guys think of the AI as well at this point, so if you let me know in the comments if you've been playing, how you've fared with the AI. I found them to be, well, they're too difficult for me actually, to be fair, which is got to be a first, but maybe if I get a bit better at the game, I should hopefully be able to put the difficulty back up, because ideally I'd like them to be on 120. I've lost the rear going into turn 14. We've now lost the position to Koenig, and we've lost the position to Mayas. I think we're still in front of somebody though. No, we're not. I thought I heard a bike behind. Trail limit's warning as well. So what a scrappy section of lap that was there. That wasn't too good at all. But yeah, I'm really struggling to get this bike stopped. That's basically something I've been struggling with all day. Of course, this is still only day 1 of the game, so you've got to bear that in mind. But so far, getting the bike stopped is pretty damn difficult. So there we are then. Once again, having a run on my ass. I'm going to try and just level him so that I can try and outbrake him. Just to try and give him a chance, because it's not really fair if I come from that far back. But then at least I can use it to keep up with them if I start to drop back off the pack. So on this lap I've only just been able to keep with them really. I've only just caught them back up on the straight. They actually pulled away from me a little bit. So hopefully my next lap's a bit better, but I'm really struggling with the rear tyre again now. It just seems to be stepping out on me in every corner. I just can't get it parked. So I think I need to try and brake a bit earlier, but again I'm losing so much time, kind of like everywhere. That's the thing, it's not like a specific area that they are quicker, they're just quicker like everywhere, except obviously the straights and with them in their current state. But they're so fast through the corner, they're so fast into the corner, they're very, very good. But it does seem like the age-old story that they can't overtake. As you can see, they're just stuck in the big sort of clump again. These clumps are seemingly forming once again. They seem maybe not quite severe in this race, but it does seem like basically the same 3 clumps have formed with the same riders. So I think maybe the performance of them all is too close. I don't know exactly, but there's definitely something going on here, because I don't think they should be behaving like this. It probably is down to the fact they're not aggressive enough that they can't overtake, but even when you sort of disturb the pack, they kind of stay in formation. They don't actually sort of then start to move forward because the bottleneck is out of the way, if that makes any sense. So I don't know what's just happened there, but my house was sort of coming across the track, but we've actually got a legitimate slipstream on Zaney this time. We've sort of passed him normally, past Myas as well, past Koenig. So now up to 22nd position, Philip Ertel in front of us. So he was in front of us in the sprint race as well, but I've overcooked it into the last corner. So that's going to put me back behind the 3 of them again. I'm still on for my fastest lap of the race, even with that. But here we go then, back past Zaney once again. I'm not going to pass Myas as well this time. I'm going to stick in behind Myas, but I'm going to at least take the pass on Zaney. Zaney's back through. So to run wide a little bit through the cut screw. Zaney retakes the position. So having a good battle here, but I think me and him are going to start dropping back from the back of the pack here. I've just noticed that Siren has the fastest lap as well. Mikado's in 3rd place. So the MIE Honda, well, just the Honda in general seems overpowered in this game, but the MIE Honda especially, because they should not be. They should be back here with us. They should not be anywhere near the podium. I just saw one of the AI further up the grid just weaving really weirdly as well, a bit similar to my ass on the last lap. So I don't know if this is something where if they make a bit of a mistake, they then like seemingly weirdly weave. I'm not sure what that is. Once again, speaking of mistake, I've gone a bit wide through the last corner. Really, I'm just struggling to pull it down to any corner, to be honest, but at least this lap time is 4/10 quicker than my previous one. Sort of towards the line. Although I actually looked to the left to see an update then, because I was just so used to doing that from the first 2 races. And this one is a real race, so it's actually about position and not lap time. So it seems to be a little bit closer to them in general on this lap, even through this section here. So hopefully we can try and make some moves. So some passes gone in front. I think Bernardi's battling with one of the BMWs a bit further up the road. And Haslam's on the back of them. So can we try pass Myas? The rear stepped out once again, so I'm going to say no, we're not going to pass Myas, unfortunately. This is the section where they really pull away from me. I mean, I know I'm just not that good through this section, but it seems like this more than anywhere. But I've got to say, on this lap, I've seemed closer, even though I'm actually slower than my personal best if you look on the right-hand side. But it just seems like the AI have slowed down a lot on this lap for some reason. Like, I don't seem as far behind them almost. I don't know if it's just a placebo effect that now I'm paying more attention to it. I feel like I'm closer, but I was definitely closing on them in the first sector. Oh, Nazani! Nazani's just knocked me off! Oh dear, Kota Nazani absolutely sending it. So that's now twice in the same weekend that that's happened. I mean, I didn't get knocked off the first time, but twice that I've been absolutely rammed up the inside. And oh, it just takes me back to bloody Moto 3 in MotoGP 22. Which one? It was one of the CF Motos. I think it might have been Artigas. It might have been Tata actually, not Artigas. But either way, one of them rammed me off at the exact same corner in the same fashion. Probably was slightly more egregious, but yep, I reckon we're going to be finishing last in this one. We're not gaining 5.3 seconds in 2 laps, that's for sure. So here we are then, coming through the last quarter, up towards the line to end what's been a pretty miserable weekend. Technically no points, but of course they gave us 2 with those weird glitches. So in the final race of the weekend, then we had Alvaro Bautista winning the race ahead of Toprak Razkatioglu in second place, Leandro Mercado in third, Hafizari in fourth, and Iko Lecuona rounding off the top 5. Johnny Raydan in 7th place. But you got to say, in general, what a weird set of races that was completely. I actually didn't do too bad in the end to only be a few seconds off the back of Nazani. I actually managed to get a 49 in the final lap as well, so you can see I was clear of this sort of back group, because you can see the top guys, I expect to be slower than them because of the bike that I'm on, but it was just so ridiculous in the free practice and stuff. Turning the AI down was definitely the right decision, but overall, just a weird weekend, that aside, just with all those glitches. I'm really hoping that Milestone fixes this soon, because I almost don't want to carry on this series whilst the game is in this state. I don't want to have to be like trying to figure out the points and things like that. I mean, I might not even be able to adjust them yet. I'm hoping that I'll be able to adjust them. If not, then the results from this weird round will have to stand. So if we look at the championship standings then, unfortunately, we just dropped outside the top 15 in terms of overall from the round. So yeah, it's not ideal because they wanted us to get 15th. I mean, of course, I don't even deserve those 2 points because I didn't actually finish in the points in any of the races. But of course, in the first race, I got given 14th, so I had to absolutely take that one. But we'll head back to the career hub now then. We'll sort out any notifications that we need to do, and then we'll end off the episode. So we actually lost 4,800 reputation there, but we did at least gain 800 credits from getting that those positions in those races. Again, we didn't really get, they were just glitched to us. And in terms of the development, we didn't get any of them except top speed, because the lap times were 46s. I mean, I was never going to do a 46, and the fastest thing I did all weekend was like a 48.3. I could play this game forever and I would never do a 46, I'm sure of it. But there we go then, no notifications. That pretty much brings this episode to a close. So I hope you guys have enjoyed that one, despite the weirdness. Obviously not a lot I could do about the game being buggy. I mean, I suppose there is a bit I could do about my speed, so I do apologise for the lack of speed in this episode, but that's caught me by surprise considerably, that's for sure, especially with it being a Milestone game. The AI are not usually too competitive. But hopefully Milestone will fix the issues that are in the game. I mean, they should, because it's quite poor if they don't, and they should fix it quickly also. I mean, sometimes I'm probably a bit too light on them, but this time it's not really acceptable that the game can launch in a state like this, so they best sort it, because it's actually not really fair on everybody that's bought the game, is it, to be honest? But either way, enough about the sadness. I hope you have enjoyed the video anyway. Let me know what you guys think of SBK22 in the comments. Let me know how you guys are getting on your career modes as well. Are you struggling as much as me, or are you an absolute Johnny Ray and pulling away from everybody? But like I said, I hope you did enjoy that one. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you all stay safe, and I shall see you in the next one.